the experience, the talent to do it, but it's not going to happen if we don't come together, and whether, how strongly we come connected, become a team first team, and how quickly we become a team first team, that will dictate ultimately what success we have. But we are going to have the mindset of remaining in the moment and focusing on the task at hand and the day that is in front of us. And, if you focus on the work and the process each day, all that stuff ends up being the end result.
Rob, when you look at this past season with all the changes, front office, coaching staff, and the players, how would you characterize what the level of synergy is in the organization entering the season?
It's really exciting. There's been a lot of connectivity and collaboration, I think really starting with the free agency process, working with Coach and his staff. And as you guys know, LeBron and Anthony were very involved in that collaboration of how this team was built. And we feel like stars of their ilk deserve to be collaborative in the process of helping assemble the roster. But it's been great, and I think being able to go and at least observe how the team was started to come together in Vegas. LeBron and Anthony hosted a little bonding time for the team. You can just tell there's a seriousness and a professionalism to what they want to accomplish, and it meshes really well with the veteran staff that Frank assembled. Having coaches like Lionel Hollins and his experience and Jason Kidd and his experience, and I could go down the whole staff. We have a really serious team of veterans and a veteran coaching staff, so the alignment is really easy to see right away.
Hey, Frank, to your right, back here. Hey, Rob. What can you tell us about the starting lineup for this year? I think LeBron and Anthony, we're pretty sure we know, but beyond that, what have you been able to glean in the summer months?
Yeah, here's the starting lineup that we'll have opening day. It starts at got you, Dave. No decisions are made on starting lineups. We're going to see how different combinations play together throughout camp. That stuff will all play itself out throughout camp. There's a lot of different ways we can go. We have great flexibility within our roster, and stay tuned.
Hey, Rob, right here. It's been a while since we've heard from LeBron. A lot has happened and changed, and you mentioned that he was in on the collaborative effort to kind of rebuild this roster. And so I'm curious what he did this summer, what the conversations you had with him were like.
He was locked in. I mean, it was numerous phone calls, usually three-way phone calls with LeBron, myself, and Anthony, three-way text messages, but incredibly focused and open-minded. Never the approach is never, you need to go do this, but the approach is always, hey, what do you think about this? And I think that was represented in the process and leading to Dwight Howard. I think it was important that not only from a front office perspective and a coaching perspective, but from a playing perspective, that everyone was aligned. And when he came to us and let us know he wanted to be a part of something bigger than himself, and that he had hit a point in life where he had hit rock bottom and realized that life wasn't about individual accomplishments or fame and money, but was about trying to be a part of something bigger. It was very genuine, and then that led into conversations with the coaching staff and then the players. And that's really how we're doing things, is to make sure that we're a family of 15 people and everyone's voice matters. But LeBron was incredibly locked into the whole process and has been great to work with.
Hey, Rob, can you tell us your thoughts on this roster? Do you anticipate adding more players? Do you feel like you have enough shooting around LeBron and Anthony?
Yeah, I think our job is to always have an eye on improving the team, and we're going to constantly look for opportunities to make this the best team we can. That's just part of our job That said, with the 15 guys we have signed, we think we can get and be the last team standing. We have a belief in that and a confidence in that, but it's going to take a tremendous amount of work, and the process is going to be a part of it. In terms of the shooting, I think the best way to learn in life is from things that didn't go right or from the past. You know, I think failure is a much better professor than in life than success sometimes. You know, success can lead to pride or arrogance, and failure says, what do we need to address? How do we need to get up and be better? And clearly shooting was an important thing to add. And we go right down our roster. If you look at, you know, Danny Green and Quinn Cook and KCP and, you know, Jared Dudley, Troy Daniels, Avery Bradley, it's full of multi-dimension players that are great shooters. So we're really confident in that construction. When you have LeBron and Anthony Davis with the space that they can create as two of the best players in the game, we do feel like we have the shooting to space the court.
Yeah, you know, I think that's the most exciting thing about how this roster has been built once AD came aboard is, you know, the experience level, obviously, the number of really good players that we've added. I feel good about everybody on the roster, but the shooting improvement, you know, is, you know, I hope it to be dramatic from where we were at this point last year.
Frank, over. What value do you place in getting off to a good start, and how important will that be with the West being so tough?
Yeah, I hear a lot of people talking about, you know, you don't want to, you know, get off to too good of a start, and you want to peak at the right time and whatnot. And you know, the management of the season in terms of keeping guys mentally fresh and physically fresh going into the playoffs, you know, is something that is going to be in the front of my mind throughout the season. But we're trying to win every game we play. We're trying to win opening night. We're trying to win the first 10. We're trying to win the first 20. And, you know, that leads us to a strong start. Then so be it. We'll sustain it while making sure that mentally we're staying fresh and physically we're staying fresh, so we're at our best going into the playoffs.
Hi, Rob. You signed DeMarcus Cousins, and since that happened, he's been through a couple of things pretty significant, the injury and then the domestic violence investigation. I'm wondering what your plans are for him going forward. Is the intent to keep him on the roster? And if so, what's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to say is the Lakers as an organization take allegations of domestic violence extremely seriously. That said, when allegations are made for any NBA player, the league takes over and handles that investigation. So we're going to abide by the league's lead on this as that's being investigated. And because it's a legal matter, we can't really speak any further about that. Right now, he's a member of our roster and a part of the team. And we'll just have to wait for guidance from the league on next steps.
Frank, what's your vision defensively? You have rim protectors who presumably could be out there all 48 minutes. And how do you look at the versatility and all the things you're going to be able to do defensively?
We have great possibilities on that end of the floor. You know, it's going to start with us being diligent with the drill work in training camp and in practice to build the cohesion. A lot of people will talk about when you have a lot of new faces coming together, it's about the pass and catch timing and all those types of things. But to me, it's more important on the defensive end. You know, that's something that, you know, I don't anticipate being perfect at the start of the season, but something that hopefully will grow throughout the season and be strongest towards the end. But the abilities we have on that end of the floor are really something I'm really excited about. You know, you mentioned the ability of having an elite rim protector for 48 minutes. You know, that's a great starting point for building a great defense. It is a different league now than it was 5-10 years ago, with opposing centers being at the top of the key, strong side corner at the three-point line. So it's not as easy to camp those rim protectors in front of the basket all night. So it's not going to always translate, to having a shot blocker at the rim. But, we've got a scheme in place that is designed to put them there as much as possible, to minimize the situations where, our 5-man is chasing a point guard around the top of the key, watching them dance and trying to contain all the way out there and trying to keep them close to the basket as much as possible on the defensive end. But I'm equally as excited and encouraged about the perimeter defenders that we have and the IQ that we have, on this roster. So, if this group is willing to put in the work and to commit to that end of the floor, we can accomplish special things.
Hey, Rob, you mentioned the staff that Frank was able to put together. I think when Frank was hired, he mentioned that Jason Kidd was somebody that you guys brought to him as hoping he could find room for on staff. Can you explain how that deal came together, and then and why it was such a priority for the organization to get Jason in here? And then, Frank, can you speak to how that relationship has developed so far?
Bill, congrats on number 2, and I hope you had a good sabbatical. I think we talked about collaboration in one of the previous questions, and one of the hallmarks of, I think, Frank's DNA is just he has a very collaborative personality. And so I think going into the process of assembling his staff, myself and Kurt Rambis, with his coaching experience, when we talked to Coach, had several candidates that we thought were really interesting that could be a part of a larger staff. And the goal with the staff was to have a very experienced staff. And the vision was to have Frank surrounded by other coaches that had been in the head chair. Knowing that the level of roster we were building was full of guys with high basketball IQ. So the more basketball minds we could have as part of the staff, we felt better. And Frank loved that vision and had talked about when he was in previous jobs with the Pacers and having guys like Brian Shaw and Nate McMillan and other people like that on his staff was really important. Jason in particular, we liked what he stood for in terms of his ability to understand and see the game. And when you have guys on your team like LeBron and Rondo and players of that ilk, having guys that can relate to their level of talent was really key and important for us, and a big ingredient that we're grateful for on the overall staff.
And in terms of how it's begun with Jason and I would rate it a 10 out of 10. I think we're off to a great start with our chemistry with one another. His intent to come in here and play any role that is needed, should be commended. I love the fact that when I interviewed him, the discussion was along the lines of he felt like when he went from being a player to a head coach, he skipped steps, in terms of learning what the process is like, being an assistant coach and the work that goes in, and learning what the foundation is to coaching at this level. So he's excited about executing that type of responsibility, that type of role. And he's been invaluable in helping put together our plan for the way we want to play this year, the way we're going to use our roster. And, I envision him coming in, potentially being a perfect complement to my experience level and skill set. And so far it's played out that way.
Hi, over here, guys. Neither of you guys were here last time when Dwight was with the Lakers. That season didn't really meet the expectations of the organization at the time, and Dwight has been on a number of teams since then. I'm wondering what conversations or maybe anything else that made you guys believe that Dwight is ready to be a valuable member of the team.
Yeah, I think I touched on that a little bit, but it was the interaction with him, and it started with his openness to a concept of a non-guaranteed contract. The first messages that he brought to Coach and I were, listen, I've had chapters in my career as a superstar where people were afraid to hold me accountable, and I want to be held accountable, and so I'm willing to sacrifice millions of dollars with his former team to come on a non-guaranteed contract. So he put his money where his mouth was and showed this desire like I said earlier, to be a part of a group of guys and to do something bigger than himself. Then he came in and he worked out, and it was almost like a draft workout. I mean, it took a lot of humility to come in as a guy that's been a first-team All-NBA player and felt like he needed to try out and earn a spot. And that showed some character changes. Then it was time up in the offices, just talking to him about his story and some of the things he'd been through as a person last year and hitting low points. And again, I think trial and going through hard things is when you're shaped as a person, and he seemed like he was changed. And then once Coach and his staff felt good and we felt good as a front office, we brought some of the key players in to have direct conversations with him about being a teammate and being a good teammate. And everyone felt it was real, and because of the injury to DeMarcus, the talent was so extraordinary, and he physically looked so great and was willing to play a role, and I'll let Coach speak to that we felt like it was all upside and no downside, especially with a non-guaranteed contract.
Yeah, and I want to echo everything that Rob said about the workout. He looked really good. You could tell he was serious about it by the fact that he had dropped a lot of weight. Looked really good, moving up and down the floor. Was willing to play, against coaches and video guys in a 3-on-3 setting that looked like a draft workout. And and then the conversation we had upstairs, the humility piece was the biggest thing for me. And I had read somewhere that he wanted to play 4 or 5 more years, and I laid out how that was going to look. For him to do that, it's going to have to take a shift in his expectation of roles with teams, and that he still has the ability to be a star in his role, but to be a role player. And we laid out that that's what it would look like here. He appeared to have a genuineness about wanting to just be a part of it and have a chance, and his willingness to accept any role that we lay out for him. And that just, to me, showed me that he was serious, that he could help us, and we move forward with it.
Rob, do you sense any extra motivation in LeBron after all that happened last year?
I might be able to answer that question better in a few weeks, but I think that you can see in his demeanor a seriousness and a focus. You definitely can, Bill, just in his presence. And it was clear in his preparation. I think physically he looks like he really leaned up and locked in even more, if that's possible, given how hard he works. I think having done, I know he filmed his movie, and I think concentrating his time early in the morning, I think he was doing 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock workouts. The guys were saying, I don't know if I can keep up with him because he's working so hard. So he just really seems locked in and serious. That's the air that we've gotten so far being around him.
Hey, Rob. Just wanted to see what the adjustment has been like for you, the first summer really heading up all of basketball decisions for the Lakers, just what the experience was like.
Listen, I think our fans have huge expectations for what this franchise should stand for, and I think that the more we can just focus on putting in the work to deliver to our fans what they want, that's what this is all about. And it's not about me, it's not about Coach, it's about our 15 players, and it's about trying to add to this Lakers legacy with championships, and that's what the work is about. And you feel the energy coming from the outside, from the fan base, saying, hey, where was the team a couple years ago and where are we now? And I think there is a feeling of excitement in this city, and that's something that we're proud of. If we can put in work to get the team to a place where they can compete to be the last team standing, we got to be proud of it. But we do it as a group of individuals. There's no one person here that, to me, is any more important than others. There's 100 folks that work in this building, and each of them have equal importance in my eyes.
If I could ask both you guys this question, LeBron hasn't had this much time off, I think, since 2005. Just wondering what you think that could do for him physically and what you expect for him throughout the season.
Well, I would think that it is going to have him coming into the season as fresh as he's come into a season in many, many years. And, that's good news for us and bad news for the rest of the league. So we'll see how that all plays out. But, that's sort of the common sense read on, what I think it should look like for sure.
Over here. Today is obviously a day of eternal optimism. You mentioned expectations a moment ago. What is success for you this season? Is it championship or bust, or do you think that being in the Western Conference Finals would be okay? How do you gauge success for this season?
I think Coach made it very, very clear in the film room just now that success for us is a great 2-day practice tomorrow, that we optimize that practice and we take this thing one day at a time and that we lock into the process. We're not going to jump to June. We're going to jump to tomorrow and making sure that we start the season off with 2 great practices.
Yeah, stay in the moment. Like I said, we've talked about we have the ability to achieve the ultimate prize. All right, but our focus will not be on that. Our focus will be on the moment.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Rob.
Good seeing you all.
I'm done, right?
Seconds. 5 seconds. We're good. We're back.
Yep. First of all, LeBron, welcome back and good luck this year. What was the offseason like for you? What was the offseason like for you personally? Because it had been a long time since you had missed the playoffs. And I remember hearing someone like Chris Bosh say, one of your former teammates say, when you come back this year, you will come back with a vengeance.
It was a great summer for me. Got an opportunity to spend a lot of time with my family, my friends. Shot a movie, Space Jam, that I'm truly excited about and will be great. And also got an opportunity to put in a lot of work on my game. And take care of my body, be able to refresh my body, reset my body. So it was a great summer for me. It was long, something I haven't been accustomed to over the previous years. But, you take each day, and I enjoyed each day that I had.
LeBron, I think the longest summer since 2005, and you had been in a rhythm probably going to the finals and getting ready for a certain date. How does that impact your training in the offseason, and how do you feel physically just with that switch and how long it's been?
I don't think it impacted my training at all because I train all year round pretty much. Obviously, I take a little bit of time after the season from basketball just, because we do so much pounding and bumping and grinding on the hardwood over there. But as far as training, I train all year round, So in that instance, it didn't change much. Obviously, I ramped it up a lot more over the last couple months, from late, April. The difference between late April and, August and September was obviously the training sessions and the regimen was a little bit different as far as ramping it up, as far as intensity. But as far as me just training, I did that all summer.
LeBron, we've been kind of talking about this, but you've never really quite had a summer like this, given everything that happened where you are in your career and as long as you were off. I mean, you had to sit and watch a playoffs and a finals. You haven't played basketball since, I think, April. Mentally, where are you? How did you come through this? Was it a clarifying moment? And did it refocus you? Just where are you in that regard?
You made it sound so bad, like sitting and watching basketball is such a bad thing. I actually enjoyed it. I think you guys seen some of my Instagram posts when I was actually showing you guys me watching the playoffs. I didn't miss one game, by the way, throughout the whole postseason. Not one. I watched every single last one of them. Even when I was on vacation, I watched them. From a competitor standpoint, obviously you want to be out there, and I wanted to be out there with me and my teammates, but we didn't make it. So you take that as it is. But for me, I'm just trying to refocus myself, refocus my mind and my body, and prepare myself throughout the summer on, what I wanted to do and me individually, how I'm going to be a better player, a better leader this year, and be as great as I can be to help this franchise do ultimately what it wants to do, and that's to be a better franchise on the floor. We want to be able to compete every single night, and obviously we know what the long-term goal is, but it's all about the process of today.
I was just wondering, it was such a long process for this team to finally acquire Anthony Davis. When that happened, what were you doing, and how exciting was it for you that it was finally done?
What was I doing? I do not remember exactly what I was doing, but I can tell you that I was ecstatic, very excited. I know the caliber of player AD is. Not only from a basketball standpoint, but also from a leadership standpoint and what he can bring to any franchise. And, when Rob and everyone in the upstairs, did what they had to do to acquire a talent and a person as AD, I was, obviously truly excited. You guys probably seen how much time we spent together in the summertime. So obviously that spoke for itself. But it's exciting to have such a beautiful young mind. A beautiful player, but also a great leader as well, and I don't think he gets a lot of credit for that, being a leader that he is as well. So I think it's a great opportunity for this franchise to have such just an all-around, all-around person. I think the basketball will speak for itself, but just an all-around great person.
LeBron, what has been your approach to the way you think your team should start a season, and what will it be this year, especially in the West being so tough?
I think our approach is how we approach every day. We have to try to maximize each and every day, and it starts with, tomorrow. Our first day of practice, first day of training camp, on how we get better. It's going to be a process for us. We ultimately know what our goal wants to become, but you can't shortcut the process. And if we come in every day, learn from our coaching staff, learn from each other, get to know one another. We have a new team. We have a few returning guys, but we have a lot of guys that wasn't part of the team last year. So, chemistry and camaraderie and togetherness and how we can become how fast we can become a team by not shortcutting the process is what it's going to be all about.
LeBron, to your left, AD told me that you spoke to Lakers management and everybody about how you think it's important to kind of go through him. Two questions. Have you ever done that before for another player, and why do you think it's important for you to do that now?
Yes, I have, actually. First couple years in Cleveland, when I returned for the second time, I wanted the offense to go through Kyrie. I just seen the talent, the level of talent that he had, and I wanted him to be able to run the show, be able to put us in position, having the basketball skills that Kyrie had. And, I mean, if you can go back through some of my transcripts, I was talking like I believe that, someday he could, potentially be an MVP in our league. I just seen how talented he was. And so, yes, I've done that before. And in order for us, we don't know exactly what our offensive things that we're going to do, defensively we're going to do. We haven't got started yet. Like I said, we got a brand new coaching staff. We have brand new players coming into a new system. But we all know how great Anthony Davis is. And if we're not playing through Anthony Davis while he's on the floor, then it makes no sense to have him on the floor because he's that great. And it doesn't mean like every time down, we throw it to him and throw it to him and throw it to him. But we have the ability to do that. And he's been very efficient in his career. He commands double teams. And when you're able to attract two, defenders on one guy, then you have the numbers game. Now you got a 4-on-3 on the backside. So it opens up for other guys on the floor, including myself.
LeBron, over to your right back here. You talked to a lot of people around the league this summer, and there's excitement because there's no clear-cut favorite for the first time in a long time. Can you recall a time in your career where it felt like this going into the year, and how do you view, the competitors, the contenders around the league?
I'm not sure, Dave. I don't know how to kind of say how I feel or how I've seen. I don't know. For me, I think it's great what the league has been able to do year after year after year. We continue to be the greatest sport in the world, and we put out the best product on the floor every night to be competitive and play to not only our abilities but also showcase talent that our fans love, play with a lot of passion. So in that aspect, I think it's great. I think our league is in a great position right now. Adam Silver has done an unbelievable job, and every team has tried to just continue to get better and better and better to help the league out. Ultimately, as far as me and as far as how I feel, my only goal is how I can prepare myself every day to help this team be as great as we can be and not shortcut the process. That's always been my goal every single year, and how AD and myself can lead these guys and put them in position to be successful every night, not only from a game aspect but from a practice aspect as well, will ultimately be what we want to accomplish.
LeBron, both the Lakers and Clippers made moves to become title contenders this summer, and people here are really excited. What do you think LA is going to be like between the Lakers and Clippers? And you guys were one of the teams that were in on Kawhi. What was your reaction? What was your reaction when Kawhi and Paul George went to the Clippers?
Well, I think it's it's great for everyone talking about the big winners of the summertime. Is it the Nets? Is it the Clippers? Is it the Lakers? It's actually Staples Center. Staples Center is the biggest winner of the summer. If you're a fan of the game of basketball, you get an opportunity to see the Clippers one night, and then you get an opportunity to see the Lakers. Then you got great shows and great performers and artists and everybody who come through Staples Center all throughout the year. Staples Center is a place to be. Maybe even Sierra Canyon can go there and play a game. Just throwing that out there. They have some freshman on their team that's doing okay for himself as well. But no, seriously, I think it's just great. I mean, the city of Los Angeles should be very proud of what's going on, not only with the Lakers and the Clippers, but also with the Rams and the Dodgers and the Kings and USC and UCLA and so on and so on. If I missed you, I apologize. But it's a great time to be a sports fan in the city.
LeBron, do you take any right here?
Sorry,
do you take any extra motivation after all that the team went through last year, and do you still feel like you have something to prove or show to the LA Laker fans?
I'm very motivated, but I'm right now not in talking about it mode. I've been very quiet this summer for a reason, and my mother always told me, "Don't talk about it, be about it." Man, so that's where I'm at. I think as a team and myself, we need to get the Lakers back to what they've been accustomed to over years. So I'm excited about that.
LeBron, you talk about the relationship with AD, and it seems like there's a pretty deep bond there. But you know he's a free agent at the end of this year. Does that pending decision has that influenced the way you are thinking about that relationship and going into this season to make sure that he wants to stay here long term?
No, of course not. For me, if you know me, there's a couple people that know me. I'm a guy who lives right now. I live in the present. And, what's happened in the past is nothing you can do about that, and you have no idea what the future holds. So, if you start to think about the future, then you will miss out on a great opportunity that might be right in front of your face. And I think that's even more selfish. So for me, having AD here right now and having this ball club here, we're not even going to address that throughout the season. And I bet AD will talk about it. But our goal is to get better every day. Coach Vogel and the coaching staff is going to put us in the best possible chance for us to win every night, and that's what it's all about.
Hi, LeBron. Yeah. Are you planning on play for the Team USA next season, next year?
Say it again?
Are you planning on play for the Team USA
Oh,
next
for Team
year?
USA?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would love to. I want to stay healthy as well. That's most important. I was not happy about, how we did this summer. I think we're all a brotherhood, and I know the guys that was there, they played, extremely hard. They played extremely well together. They just fell a little bit shorter than what our expectations are, and I applaud those guys. I didn't say anything, obviously, while they were playing, but I applaud everyone individual that was on that team this summer, including the coaching staff and everybody. But it's not what we're accustomed to. See how I can do throughout this season, and and I will address that at some point. Hopefully have an opportunity to have a conversation with Coach Pop and see what his direction is. Going forward with Team USA. But I will always bleed red, white, and blue. That's for sure.
LeBron, to your right, Rob has talked about a lot how he conferenced with you and AD while the roster was being built. What was that process like, and how has that affected your relationship or closened your relationship with Rob?
I think it's not about what First of all, I think Rob and Linda and Jeannie and everybody in the upstairs did a hell of a job this summer. From acquiring AD, to acquiring everyone that is a part of this team, to bringing back the guys that were free agents last year, bringing them back to the roster. They did a hell of a job, and bringing in the coaching staff, handpicking the coaching staff as they did. Throughout all the word that I want to use is not for throughout all the bull that was narrated for our franchise, and narrated and going towards Rob and the beautiful people that we have upstairs. They just kept their blinders on and just focused on what they had to do to help this franchise be as competitive as they can be. And they did exactly that, and also even exceeded that. I think they did a hell of a job, and I'm happy to be a Laker. Appreciate it.
Dang, I got to go after that.